Retro Killscreen.
Hey guys, in honor of the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD coming out, we decided that the Zelda series was worth a look.
You might want to check out that Zelda thing.
That Zelda, these Zelda
It might
games,
have some staying power.
yeah, all these kids are talking about it because this new one came out, but maybe they don't know. This series has been around for a long time, and we're here to tell you a little bit about it.
Dubstep.
Retro Killscreen. Way back in 1986, I don't know. Like,
I was kind of hoping you had something there.
oh,
I
well,
It was starting to go like PBS
I would have been
special.
impressed, honestly, if you were just like back in 1986, and then
a young game designer named Shigeru Miyamoto was like tired of jumping. No, I don't know. So he gave a little guy a sword, and well, whatever. What's the story he always tells? It's like, I used to explore caves as a kid, so I wanted to make a game that kind of did that, and then like dungeons and all that stuff kind of came together. You know,
Sure.
adventures. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing he said. I don't know. Yeah. Back
what are
me
you
up
trying
on
to convince of us?
Yeah.
Of this?
I'm pretty sure Shigeru Miyamoto said that at least like 2 or 3 times over the course of many years. So
Yeah.
anyway, Zelda games. Let's stick to chronological when they came out, I guess, or whatever. Let's start with personal history. What was
Sure.
the first Zelda game you guys all played? John and Paul, who are also here with
Hi.
me, the chatty guy. My name's Nathan. I apologize.
You're
for...
still bitter about that, aren't you?
Well, I'm like already hijacking the whole show, and it's your guys' show. So I'll let.
To be
you
fair,
guys...
you're the one that's just like, okay, you need to make this happen to me, and then you message John yourself.
Yeah,
So it's
you guys need to actually do this.
Not like it was hard, really, considering we get together every week. We both get together every week for podcasts with Nathan. So
Right.
Yeah.
So she'd just be like, well, we should just figure that out at the same time, and then we'll talk about.
And it doesn't
Zelda.
help that Nathan's like the only fan too. Looking forward to that retro kill screen, and he's just like,
I
when's
need
it
the new
coming
episode.
back? All the time.
I'll make it happen, and then listen to it and be like, oh man, this is great. Zelda games. So John, what was your first Legend of Zelda game?
Link to the Past.
All right. Elaborate.
I was what year did that come out? 91 or 92?
Let me look at this handy list I have.
Jesus.
We all have the Historia, by the way, so we're
No,
awesome.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I don't own a copy of it. We had one in the house, but it wasn't either of ours. It was a gift we bought for a friend.
Okay.
Oh,
You
okay.
1991. You were correct.
Okay, so yeah, I would have been 6 when I rented it from a video game store, or from just a
Okay.
video rental store. Tried playing it and got stuck in the throne room because I couldn't figure out how to escape the castle.
Oh man.
That's fair. Yeah.
Right up front, just like what? And the internet didn't exist back then, so
Yeah, I was 6. I wasn't going to figure that stuff out. And then I rented it a couple years later when I was a bit better at games and went through the whole thing.
awesome.
But I think by that point I'd already beaten Link's Awakening.
I just want like the end bit where it's just like, and it changed my life forever. You know, like a dramatic pause. And
It didn't actually. That's the sad thing.
It was pretty good. It was a
Good game. I like it.
Yeah.
But I think I like Link's Awakening more.
Okay. Did you go to that right after, or
Well,
Like that-
whenever
that
it came
would've
out.
was 93, right? So just like 2 years later, maybe when you rented it again and figured it out, then it's like, oh, there's another one out. Awesome.
No,
Game.
I'm pretty sure I actually beat Link's Awakening before I actually went back and beat Link to the Past.
Oh, okay. So that was the first one you cracked the code on, like figured
Yeah.
out the whole thing. I've never beaten that one, but I'm told I probably should because it's kind of weird.
Link's Awakening's pretty good.
Okay. Again, pretty good. So clearly profound. impact.
It's my favorite of the series. So
It is really good, actually, yeah.
What is it, like the surreal kind of dreamlike stuff going on, or
sort of. There's like a lot of like hints to other IPs that Nintendo makes in it.
Oh, okay. So just kind of like Nintendo history jokes, kind of like.
Yeah, like there's also like a lot you can do in the game. It felt like
Wasn't there a chain chomp in it? Like pretty
Yep.
early. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I've already seen some of that stuff.
it's in the opening town.
Okay. Yeah. No, I had it hooked up to my Game Boy player. I was messing around with it a bit, but got sidetracked and stuff with moving. That kind of.
Yeah,
Threw
no,
everything.
I know what that's like.
Yeah. But okay, let's bounce over to Paul. What was your first Zelda experience?
Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link.
So really early.
89 is when I played it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it changed your life forever?
No, I got stuck because that game's balls hard.
Sure is.
For a kid, man.
Yeah.
No, but it was one of those games. Like, my parents bought a Nintendo Entertainment System when I was like one, like really young, and my dad used to play, and this was one of the games they got. So I just kind of grew up with it, and I would slowly pick away at it and try to figure out what the hell was going on. And I've never actually finished the game. I have gotten to the final fight, which is against Dark Link.
Okay.
And he always just destroyed me. And then I found out years later, when the internet was a thing, you can actually cheat that by just sitting in a corner.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I didn't know that, though. You don't know that stuff as a kid. You go in there, and you're going for this epic fight, and dude owns you every time.
Right. You're not just like, oh, I'll just crouch in the corner and stab at his feet. That'll be awesome.
Well, maybe they were trying to go for something deep, like you can't defeat the evil inside you unless you cheat.
Yeah.
I mean, makes sense, right? I guess.
Couldn't you, in theory, just be like ducking and, with your shield and just kind of brute force it? Or nah? It's too hard. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can. People have done it. I just never have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what mine actually was. Like, I know, I remember seeing Ocarina for the first time and not knowing what it was. Like, I was like at someone's house. Like, I think it was like my friend's, like my sister's friend's brother was playing this game, and I was just like, "What is this?" And he was just messing around with like chickens in the town. So that's all I saw was just collecting the chickens, and I was like, "Okay." Like, I
throwing
don't.
them in cages and shit.
Yeah, like it was like, well,
Yeah.
I have an N64, but I don't think I'm going to buy this because it's some chicken game. Like, I didn't have any context at all. But I also like remember it might have been around the same time. Like, yearly we would make a trip over to BC to visit my sister's grandparents, and there was just like NES in the basement with Zelda and Zelda 2: Adventure of Link. And those were like things I would chip away at, I guess, in the same way, but I didn't get far in either of them at all. So I'm trying to think what like the first. It probably was Ocarina again, but like reintroduced to me from a friend at school who lent it to me, and I was just like, oh, okay. And then I played that a bunch, like over and over. I just beat that game several times. Got to the point where I was like racing it with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Just memorized everything that happened. And then I guess, past that point, I went about collecting a bunch of them. And I guess I've beaten most of them, but there's definitely been a few along the way. Like Oracle of Seasons I beat, and then Oracle of Ages I got like 3/4 through, and it was just like, I'm tired. I Zelda'd out. I played too many in a row, and then kind of shelved. And then you kind of lose track of where you were and what was going on. So now I don't know what I'm going to do if I ever revisit Ages. But
you're going to start them from the beginning.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They're not that long, to be fair, but they are good.
Mm-hmm.
like half a dozen dungeons in those ones, or I don't know.
I think it's the prerequisite of 8.
Okay, so it's quite a few, but I don't know. Some of them are kind of tricky too, at the different time periods and whatever. But I don't know. But okay, so like those are the first ones. Do you like now have a clear favorite? Like John already said, Link's Awakening is probably still one of the top ones, but. And actually, I know Paul as well. Adventure of Link's one of your favorites still, right? Because it's different.
Yep.
Is that really like it still stands out as being a weird one that's not quite in the formula?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the formula though? Because I kind of like it.
Which formula are we talking about?
Well, just like go to dungeons, get the new item, use it on the boss, and continue. Like just keep.
Well, I
doing
mean, that's been the formula from the first one.
Yeah. Well, you're going to different dungeons and you get the different stuff, right? Is it not?
Yeah.
I guess you can play them in different order in that one a bit, right? Isn't there a bit more flexibility? I don't know. I've only beaten the first
in
one.
the first one, you don't necessarily need the tool. I don't believe.
No, you don't need it, but it makes it way easier.
Yeah. And meanwhile, in the majority of other ones, they're like, okay, you almost always need it for the fight.
Mm.
Or for just like navigating this dungeon, it's just like you can't open this unless you have the boomerang or whatever.
Yeah. I'm kind of psyched that they're changing up the formula a little bit for Link Between Worlds, the new one.
How's that? Like, what is their like? How have they said they're gonna kind of tweak it a bit?
Basically,
like, self-conscious about people complaining about it. Like, it's just like, why are you making the same thing over and over? And they're just like, all right, we're working on it. Jeez.
From what they said, you can access the items from like a rental shop. And that you basically rent out what items you need to go to a specific dungeon. So you can do the dungeons in any order you want.
Huh. All right. So it's just like whatever strikes your fancy. Like, it's just like, this sounds cool. I'll do this one.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
But you obviously need to collect enough money to be able to afford the weapon or the item. So.
Okay. I guess we'll see how that plays out. That's next month, right? November
22nd. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I guess that kind of introduces us to this whole notion of a timeline, because that is a sequel to Link to the Past, but like set a century later. So different dude. And at what point were you introduced to the concept that every Link is just a totally different guy? Because for me, I guess the ones I played like back to back were Ocarina and then Majora's Mask. So I was like, no, it's the same guy. What are you talking about? But then it's like, yeah, but the one in the Super Nintendo game is a totally different dude. And I was like, is his grandfather? What do you mean? It's just like, no, it's a different realm. And it's just like, all right, I no longer know what you're saying. And at that point, it all breaks down. But we're looking at a handy chart right here, Paul and I. I'm not that much less confused, though.
More confused, because I was always under the impression that, like, there's a whole bunch of different, like, dimensions or whatever. A bunch of this stuff is happening at the same time in different universes or something. There's always the hero. There's always, like, the Zelda-type princess, and there's always the Ganon or evil dude trying to get the Triforce and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But,
and, like, that
but then Nintendo was just like, nah, there's an order. And it depends on what happens in Ocarina of Time. So, I don't know. I don't like the timeline myself. I think it's weird and just kind of thrown together for the hell of it.
They kind of have a paragraph in the Historia that kind of makes it sound like they're totally open to it changing as the creative teams behind the games enter into it. So I don't think there's some like editorial person at Nintendo being like, no, you can't do that. That is totally out there. It's just like, no, whatever. We're putting automatons and robots in Skyward Sword because that's rad. And guess what? It's also the first Zelda game ever. So it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
They just never found those things again. Don't worry about it. Plus, we were discussing before, time travel just breaks all logic with time, like chronology stuff. So don't get too bent out of shape about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the linchpin is in the timeline, right? The time travel thing. So it's like, that's what broke everything.
Yeah.
So there you go. I guess it makes sense in that way.
There's also like a flowchart element to it, like whether or not the hero succeeds. But I don't like. Is there honestly some sort of ration, like, them acknowledging like, well, if Link failed in Ocarina, which he doesn't ever, because if you beat it, you win. But what if? Then it tangents off to the hero's defeated timeline, which includes like some of the games we've already talked about, Link to the Past, the Oracle games, and Link's Awakening, all fall in this like. And the first two are all in this like weird cornered off timeline that pretty much never happened. What?
Basically, it's like, well, we made all these games. How about we just... People think there's a coherent timeline, so let's make up one.
Well, I mean,
pretty sure
obviously
that's
what
case.
they did.
Yeah.
Like, just fans complained about it too much, and they're just like, here's our official word on it. It doesn't make sense. Like, all right. I'm looking at it and just, it's printed here.
Okay, so if you have Hyrule Historia, we're looking on page 69. However, maybe we'll quickly describe what the timeline is.
What we're looking at here?
Yeah, so creation, Skyward Sword, a bunch of stuff happens in there. The ancient battle and reincarnation of the goddess Hylia or however you want to say it. Like, I never played Skyward Sword. I can't say anything about it.
Same.
Okay.
And luckily, it's technically not retro.
It is not retro.
So-
I played it, but we're not allowed to talk about it here, so don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
It does tie into like Ocarina pretty directly, but yeah, don't. Whatever.
Oh, but it should be tying into the Minish Cap, which is the next in the timeline.
Those seem so weirdly out of place for me, but I kind of just feel because they both have Vati in it, and they just like decide to kind of make him an earlier evil that maybe turns into what we now know as Ganon or whatever, but I'm not even sure if they're connected at all. There's this evil sorcerer dude named Vati who was in a couple of the games, and oh no, this is just regular Four Swords. Like this is just the one that came out on Game Boy Advance. I actually didn't realize that was a separate story than Four Swords Adventures.
Oh,
But
I didn't.
no.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
That is weird.
I thought Adventures was just
Yeah.
a more fleshed out version of Four Swords.
That's what I
No.
thought too.
It appears, yeah, Four Swords Adventures is the most recent game in the Shadow era. So amazing. But okay, whatever. So Minish Cap and Four Swords happen, Vati. Then we get to Ocarina of Time, which is kind of the immovable, like everything else hinges on this game and where it
On the
fits.
outcome of what happens in this story.
Yeah, it is like
Yeah.
the linchpin for everything. So I don't know. Do you want to describe how it branches from there?
Well, I mean, there's two timelines in it, technically, I guess. Like, with the time travel thing, it basically rests on if you lose as Link and Ganon does all his stuff and blah, 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 then the Heroes Defeated timeline takes place, and we go into the End of Light and Dark era, or Era of Light and Dark, I should say,
Yeah.
which Link to the Past, the Resurrection of Ganon, takes place.
The resurrection of Ganon takes place all the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because right after that,
It's like
Oracle of Ages-
Dracula.
Yeah, or like Castlevania style, like just all the time, every time out. Oh, look who we're dealing with again.
But like we were talking about it and kind of laughing, it's like, why would they keep resurrecting Ganon and not just like the prime evil from the start that started everything? Well, I mean, the reason logically is they're video games and they came out way before this other stuff they did. But if you look on the timeline, it's like, why would they resurrect this dude and not resurrect whoever the hell? I don't know who it was in Skyward Sword. So
In Skyward Sword, it is this weird. It's like just this giant black evil dark thing. But there's also this like weird sorcerer dude who's trying to do that, trying to unleash it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure.
So, like,
there's
why isn't everyone else trying to release it? Instead, they're resurrecting Ganondorf the Thief, who becomes the Demon King Ganon.
right? Like, why are you getting this kind of lesser form? I don't know.
Yeah, just like the last dude we remember. Maybe because books weren't written about the Skyward Sword era, so they didn't know about it.
Oh, there you go. All that information is lost. A lot of bad stuff happens in all the timelines. So it's like decline of Hyrule, like all these records are getting lost, maybe. Who knows? But I guess it's weird because you go further down that timeline and then you get to the first game. Like Legend of Zelda and Adventure of Link are pretty recent in the chronology of that timeline.
Right.
Right. So like you didn't know back in 1986 when you were booting up your NES for the first time and playing it, but that was like the ninth time people dealt with this guy. But you know,
Yeah.
welcome. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you never dealt with him in The Adventure of Link if we're going to go that route, but
Yeah. Well,
You
isn't
prevent it, and yeah, that's right. If you get the game over screen though, you see him there and he laughs at you.
isn't he actually like Legend of Zelda 1 and 2 Link? They're the same Link, right? That's one of the few
Yeah.
cases where it's the same guy.
yeah, in Legend of Zelda, he's like 10 or 11 or something, and in Adventure of Link, he's 16.
Okay. And he is taller in the like the.
Well,
art.
I mean, yeah, they did that specifically because he grew.
There you go.
So-
That makes sense. I am taller
Yeah.
than I was when I was 9 or 11 or whatever.
I don't believe that. I think
that's
you were a large child.
crazy. Crazy.
Pretty crazy.
So is the Link to the Past, Oracle Ages, Seasons, and Link's Awakening Link also all the same guy?
They're all on the same timeline. I don't think they're all the same guy.
Because
Like-
I think Link's Awakening and Link to the Past are the same Link.
Yeah, I always
It-
thought so too.
Because I believe they even state that like after defeating Ganon, Link
Ganon
kind
in
of just
A
went
Link
on
to
a
the
vacation.
Past.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So that's the same Link.
So, and I guess considering it sandwiches Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, that is also the same guy, right? So he just goes on all kinds of crazy adventures.
It must be.
Yeah, Sure, that works for me.
Nintendo told us it is.
Nintendo's telling us that right here. So, Golden Era / Era of Light and Dark, that dude, like, accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. Also, these eras are maybe, like, 5 years. Sometimes.
Yeah, these eras are really small.
Sometimes there's really long eras, though. Like, the era without a hero in the Ganondorf is Sealed timeline is, like, centuries, because that's, like, when Hyrule is flooded to set the stage for Wind Waker. But, yeah. I guess, yeah. So shifting over to the right, you have, like, Ocarina, like, accounting for what he did when he was a kid, and then what he did when he was an adult.
Like, I guess, spoilers for Ocarina of Time, you get turned back into a child.
Yeah, you get turned into a kid. Well, you grow up at some point in that game, and then you can alternate between, like, 7 years in the future and kid. Right?
Right, but then, like, at the very end, you get sent back to live a childhood, which is where Majora's Mask takes place after.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and, like, Majora's Mask is a super weird one, because it's almost like he leaves, and I've heard theories that it's just, like, this weird thing Link is experiencing, like, it's not, it's all happening in his head, like, it's all metaphorical, like, it's not necessarily even an actual thing that happened. I don't know. I have to play it again. But either way, it happens in a totally different place. Like Termina. He leaves Hyrule and goes to a different kingdom, and then weird nonsense goes on over there.
Mm. Yeah, I think the idea was that everything happened, he kind of went on like a training type deal.
Like face the evil within himself, kind of, but the whole game, or?
Crossbow training, specifically.
Oh yeah, crossbow training is kind of the real key to the whole timeline. It's kind of weird. They don't on this kind of thing. Presumably that takes place just after Twilight Princess or during it, and it just is like, yeah, he had to practice a bit. Here's a game. Whatever.
Here's a game.
Yeah, but I guess Twilight Princess follows Majora's Mask, which makes me feel like maybe I should play that, and maybe I'll notice things that I'll like. I've heard it described as like another dark Zelda game, and I like that other one that was described that way, so maybe I should give it another chance. I've been thinking about it for months and months, that is a thing that'll probably happen.
Sorry, which one are you thinking of another chance?
Twilight Princess.
Actually, Twilight Princess is probably my second favorite, if we were going to call Zelda 2 my favorite.
So Zelda 2, you're labeling favorite. Twilight Princess is...
If we're going to say that, then yeah, then this would probably be number 2. They're probably on par because the way like they did Zelda back a long time ago, and then the 3D Zeldas, I always consider kind of different.
Mm-hmm. What is it about
sides of the same coin?
That kind of
honestly, I just like the look of it a lot, and it was one of those games that I was following for a long time, the development of, and I just got really excited about it. And I wouldn't say I was really even let down. Even the parts that kind of sucked with being a wolf, I still kind of dug because you're a wolf. So it's just like, I'm not just like this dude running around looking for my boomerang. Now I'm a wolf digging in holes and finding potions and shit like that. But I don't know. It was still okay, and I really, really like the end battle of that game. If anybody doesn't remember how that game ends, you should look up the ending. It's pretty fun.
Okay. John, did you play through this one?
I stopped at Snow Peak Mansion.
Okay.
So
to be fair, that is the worst part of that game, probably.
Here's the weird thing. I didn't stop because it was like worst part of game or anything. I stopped because I was playing it nonstop when the Wii came out, and then I had to stop to study for finals because I was still in university at the time. And then I didn't get a chance to really play it again for a month. And by then, I started working through Snow Peak, and I was like, I don't remember anything that was going on. I'll stop.
You got Zelda.
You just kind of lost the plot, and then it's just like, I'll revisit this.
Yeah, I lost my mood for it, and then moved on to something else.
Whereas, like, I was pretty put off by just like little quirks about the Wii, like just the sound coming out of the speaker, and like just that they flipped the game really bothered me. Just knowing that had happened was weird. It's just like, why he's right-handed.
You could have just played the GameCube one then, because they just.
I was going to say I played. I bought the GameCube version, and yeah, I didn't want to do all that stuff with the Wii, so I just got the GameCube one.
No, I guess what happened was I then bought the GameCube one, but I'd already played like 4 hours of it. So then I was playing 4 hours of it again, and then it was just like, I am so angry right now that this has happened. And then like the years went by, and I just got playing WarioWare Smooth Moves or something. Like, I just kind of forgot about it. So
Yeah,
I have
that's
both
fair,
copies sitting here, and at this point, I think whichever one I resume or just start over, it won't really matter. So I'll probably go with the GameCube one.
Sure.
But yeah. So whatever. I guess we'll look at that. And then Four Swords Adventures, I had fun with. I actually played it by myself, which maybe is sad, but you can do that. Did you guys play that one? The other GameCube one?
Nope.
Four Swords?
Four Swords Adventures, yeah, the GameCube.
Yeah, that one's fun.
It's really good. It was a fun game.
I never finished it, but had a good time playing it when I did.
And I guess, yeah, not only is Ganondorf back in that one, but Vati is resurrected, and that is kind of where they left that whole thing. So I guess they could pick up from there at some point if they want to. Like Vati, the evil sorcerer dude, is back, but I don't know. And then yeah, heading over to Wind Waker, Flooded and everything. I mean, like Wind Waker just came out again, so I guess people who conceivably there's 10-year-olds right now who didn't they were born when the first one came out, so they might as well just play the Wii U one, right? Flashier graphics.
Probably.
Yeah. If you're like a teenager or something, get Wind Waker HD. It's, pretty cool. Can we talk about GameCube games? Is that old enough? Or
yes, that's fine.
Okay. You guys like the Wind Waker? Some people really don't like sailing around. It seems to be.
I'm one of those people.
Too slow? Is that kind of the?
I don't like the sailing part. Everything else, maybe I was just burned out on Zelda. I didn't like Wind Waker very much at all.
Okay.
I was playing it at a friend's place, or my cousin's place actually, and I got a couple dungeons in, and then had to stop because I moved. And when I picked it up, I never actually got into it.
Oh, okay. I guess that was one I got way into. I guess that was like I was pretty primed for it because I mean between 2000 and 2003, I think when Wind Waker came out. Pretty sure. Like, that was when I was getting all hyped up on Ocarina and all this stuff, so I was like, man, there's this crazy new art style coming out, this is going to be awesome. And yeah, I played through that game a bunch. Like, my favorite thing about it is probably the camera stuff, the way they incorporate that into its own kind of metagame, where you're basically then making a bestiary by going back and chronicling all the stuff. Like, it's like you're a nature photographer at that point, trying to take a picture of the boss before you kill it, so that you can then get, a trophy of it. In the special, it was just a weird, I just got weirdly caught up in doing that because it's just oh man, there's only one chance in the whole game to get this creature, so I need to, pay attention with the camera and all this stuff. I don't know that aspect to it, but it also has just some good story stuff. But yeah, the sailing, specifically the finding the Triforce pieces, seems to be everyone's least favorite thing about it, and I totally get that.
Yeah,
it just left out the ending. It's you've already gone to all these dungeons and done this stuff over and over, and then it's hey, one more thing, go do this tedious sea chart stuff, and it's just that. Oh, okay. I don't know. Nintendo's really good at coming up with MacGuffins and just stuff for you to search out and ancient stuff for you to find and whatever. I feel they can get that stuff right a lot of the time, but something about the way it was handled in that one, even now, 10 years later, does remind me of just kind of not the best times. But yeah, I guess more sailing happened in Phantom Hourglass, which I played recently. Did you guys get a chance to go through that one? Or
yeah, which one?
DS, Phantom Hourglass?
I played through the first dungeon or two and then stopped.
You hated the controls, right?
I was not a fan of the controls.
Okay.
I agree with him completely.
Do you know if the new one coming out on 3DS is going to do away with all that stuff, or?
Yeah, it's using the control stick.
Exclusively, or is there still touchscreen?
There's probably still some touchscreen stuff, but I doubt it controls the same as those two.
Okay. I guess I never played Spirit Tracks. That's the last one in this timeline, but I did really dig Phantom Hourglass. I think part of it is just if I'm far enough away from Zelda games for a long enough time, I'm ready again for another one. And it almost doesn't matter which one it is, because it's just yeah, whatever, man. I'll go on an adventure, find some stuff, fight monsters, cool. And, I guess if I don't remember where all the stuff is, then it's, still exciting. So, yeah, every year or two, I can probably go back and get into some Zelda again. And I already did my binge this last year, though, so I'm probably going to be good for a little while. I'm not sure if I'll be picking up the new one right away, but I don't know. Are you guys hyped for 3DS business?
I'll play it.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in it now that they've actually said it's going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
And I've always been a fan of the 2D ones, so.
Like the more conventional top-down kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So odds are this will probably be the first Zelda game in a while I'll actually complete.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm just trying to, I liked Link to the Past, but I came to it pretty late. I played the Game Boy Advance version, eventually. I think I may have come in contact with it not during the SNES era, probably N64 times, a friend of mine had it, so I finally got to see what that was all about, but I didn't actually pick it up for myself until it was ported to Game Boy Advance. And I know I finished it, but beyond that, I don't know. I might have been using guides and stuff. At some point, the internet helped me get through a lot of the Zelda games I wasn't able to beat in years past. I did eventually beat Adventure of Link, but that was just because the internet was there to help me. So it's just I don't know what's going on. Where do I go? And it's just okay, go over here. It's all right. And then fight for a while and then be all right, I don't know how to defeat this boss. Check a guide. I don't know if
that game's pretty linear though.
It is, but I guess I was still just kind of wandering off the path and then ending up in all these kind of random encounter style stuff.
It feels confusing though. That's the thing. While it might be linear, it does feel really confusing your first time.
I think it was specifically finding a candle for the caves. Was just an early stumbling block for me. Whenever I'd go over to my sister's grandparents' house to play it, it would just be oh, I'm lost here again. Right, this part, and then just kind of play Fester's Quest or something.
Yes, you clearly made the better choice.
I did not, but it was there, so I don't know. It had a spider on his face. It was creepy. I didn't like that game either.
Fester's Quest?
Yeah, not
my grandparents had Super Contra.
Okay.
So I always was jealous and I wanted to take that game home, but then I wouldn't have anything to play when I was there. I didn't have to contend with Fester's Quest, I guess, is what my point is. That's the
there was definitely some other stuff there. They probably had some Mario games or something, some old standbys I could just go to, but yeah.
You chose Fester's Quest because Adam's Family was so hot back then.
He was sick of jumping.
I probably watched that show. Right? That's just reruns of it. A thing.
That's when the cartoon would have been around too.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So yeah, Adam's Family, relevant to our times. All right. Now let me just through here again.
Huh?
I don't know. I'm just continuing to look at this Historia and yo, Ganon's a pig. I don't know. What else do you want to delve into? What was your favorite story in the Zelda world? We already kind of went into that because of the games. But does mythology interest you really, or is it just kind of a bunch of MacGuffins for you to go find? Do you get too invested in any of it?
Oh, that's actually a pretty good question.
Has a Zelda story?
I don't even know the answer, to be completely honest with you, because I like doing the gameplay part. I like going in the dungeons and finding the thing, and then that makes my journey to the next one and through that dungeon, whatever, easier and kind of more you can alternate between how you're playing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I also do kind of like parts of the story. Let's forget about the timeline right now.
Yeah.
I do I've always liked Ganon, just this weird evil pig, as you would say, I guess, thing.
A demon type guy. I don't know. Evil pig wizard. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. He's got this skull on this chain around his neck. He's pretty evil.
And the trident.
And big spiky shoulder pads.
What picture are you looking at of him?
It's on page 143 of the Historia. It is a Link to the Past art.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were referring to the Zelda cartoons game.
Yeah.
It almost sounded like you were describing him.
Does he also have all that stuff in that one?
Some of it, more or less.
If we want to do a tangential question.
The Ganon in the show basically wore a wizard's robe, a black robe. It was, I don't know. That's the only thing I remember about him, and his voice was terrible.
Mm.
He just had a rough throat. He just needed a lozenge, that's all.
It was during the time of when kids liked that about the villains, though. They had this stupid voice like Skeletor and shit, so it fit with the time, I guess.
Like that era of animation, but it stands out now as being super corny.
Yeah, watching that show again is just hilarious for reasons that I'm sure they didn't intend. But
well, excuse me.
I still love that there's a full episode where like the big problem is that the king's water park or whatever wasn't getting enough water or some shit. It's just something dumb like that. It's like the evil wizard Ganon somehow is like not even involved in this, and then it just turned out to be like one of those sitcom things. It's like, oh well, the reason why there was this problem in the first place was actually because we accidentally tapped into a fairy spring and they got nervous and turned it off because they thought someone else was stealing it. It's just
misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's just so dumb.
And freeze frame and everyone's laughing. Amazing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, like, if Nintendo has to come up with, like, ideas for every game, it's like, imagine you had to make a show, like, every week Link has to go on a quest. Eventually you're going to run out of important stuff to do. And
somehow they did it, though, with Super Mario Brothers. I'm not saying that cartoon was any better. But
yeah,
I am saying they were more enjoyable because they were just little episodes of references and weird things with the Mario characters.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, Zelda kind of had to fit in between. I don't know, actually, Zelda had the same time frame that the Mario cartoons had to do, wasn't
it? Zelda was every Friday or Thursday or something. Yeah, it was weekly, and Mario was every day.
So even more stuff to come up with.
But, I think it's easier when your story is about a plumber that gets sucked into a world full of toadstools and dragon turtles.
Yeah, they can just kind of make up stuff as they go along.
Yeah.
Plus, let's be honest, they had more characters to work with in Mario.
Yeah.
Well, that was actually because Mario 2 wasn't supposed to be a Mario game, which is why there's all that weird shit in it, and that's what they used a lot of the show and rest of the stuff for.
Like Shy Guys and whatever?
Exactly.
I remember, Toad, Peach, Mario and Luigi,
okay,
Bowser.
You're talking about, like, the main cast.
Yeah.
But, like, the other dudes are totally in that show all the time. Like, Mouser has the German accent, which is amazing. So good. Mouse with the German accent. And what the hell was the three-headed dragon?
Oh, that, Hydra dude is totally in there.
Yeah, he's in there. Yeah. I don't know.
There's just a bunch of... do all the Koopa Kids show up, or...
No. Don't think Koopa Kids weren't a thing yet. I don't think when that show was
Koopa Kids didn't show up till the Mario 3 cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Because keep in mind, there were 3 different Mario cartoons.
Yep. Sure were.
There was Super Show, there was Mario 3, and then there was Mario World.
I guess I'm talking, just to be specific, although you both know what I'm talking about, is Super Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because we were talking about Legend of Zelda, so, you know.
That era. Yeah.
Speaking of Legend of Zelda, I guess. Ocarina of Time. Nathan, you like it a lot.
Yeah. I
don't know if I particularly love it.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet. When I play it, I have fun with it. But when I remember back onto parts, I remember bad parts of it, I guess. Maybe that's my problem. I shouldn't remember and just play it. John, what's your side?
I am a little torn on that game now.
Yeah,
I liked it as a kid, but I don't know if I like it as much as an adult, and I don't know if that's just me not liking the Zelda formula anymore, or just being a case of I played it too much as a kid. I'm kind of sick of it.
Well, I mean, I have played it so many times at this point that it probably wouldn't really give much to me anymore. But I think it's more just one of those things where it's you have to look at it as this was a big breakthrough in terms of 3D navigation and all this stuff. This was kind of a landmark technical achievement at the time, right?
I don't think anyone is bad mouthing its technical. Yeah,
it's more just does the rest of it hold up still? And I don't know. There was the 3DS remake. Were people still pretty keen on it then, or did it kind of showcase how old it was?
I think it's still rated pretty high.
I actually played that and own it. Yeah, it's that was my revisit actually, probably within the last year to that game. And it's okay. It fixes a lot of the problems mechanically that I have with Ocarina of Time now, which I mean wasn't maybe that's actually why I have some problems with it now, is that even though it was kind of an achievement for that time, it was also one of the first like 3D games to explore this space and like what you can do with 3D and adventure and stuff like that. So it's still clunky kind of, but
or maybe like kind of simplistic by today's, like, it's just like, this used to be nuts that you had to like look up at this part and shoot the button, and you're just like, yeah, but now it's like, obviously, of course you'd do that. Like, it's pretty simplistic spaces, dungeon design wise.
That's why I actually say Twilight Princess I like quite a bit, is because I like what it is the next step in like progression with technology and what we're getting these days for that old system, right? The Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask thing, like, it just feels better in a lot of ways, and it's because it came out later, obviously, for a better system, or like more technically capable system.
You might like Skyward Sword then, because that's kind of how I felt about that game, but because it's even newer, it's just like, wow, Nintendo actually has been evolving how they do this. Like, it's like a way bigger, grander thing in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna be petty. And the reason why I probably won't like it as much still is because I really don't want to use the Wii to play a game like that. I just want to sit down with a controller. That's it.
I really, that was the thing that kind of surprised me, though. I found the Motion Plus stuff like really oddly satisfying. Like, it was just like really well tuned to that game. Like, you know, you pull back the bow and all this stuff, and it just kind of works. And it's just like, all right, this is cool. Like, even though the dungeon that introduces the bow was my least favorite in the game, the actual act of shooting the thing was like, yeah, this is pretty sharp. And then, I don't know, like, guiding your bird around with the motion stuff, like, doesn't necessarily change the game. It just kind of adds a certain involvement to it.
But it doesn't hinder it, you say?
I didn't think so, but...
Okay.
Yeah, I got pretty pulled into that. Like, that was almost like 40, 50 hours of time on that, and I was, like, pretty happy with 90% of it. So... I don't know. It might work out for you. I don't know, but I do want to see Twilight Princess to kind of see what you're talking about. Like, you know, do you just mean kind of like dungeon design? You can see them kind of like really kind of going for it in ways they didn't before.
Like, I wouldn't say so. If anything, I would say Skyward Sword, from what you've described, some of the dungeons and what they do, I think that's way more innovative.
Well, just with the time stuff, they managed to get a lot of kind of interesting stuff out of it. Like, it's just like, you know, they've done that before. Like, Oracle of Ages has 2 different eras that you're playing with, but it's happening kind of live. Like, you're just carrying a time crystal into an area, and that area is changing around you. Like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat to see happen.
I don't particularly remember a lot of the different dungeon stuff of Twilight Princess. I just remember more of the world stuff, like, around the world.
Oh, like the open fields and...
Yeah, just that whole sort of thing, like riding your horse or becoming a wolf, and everything's dark and weird looking and that sort of stuff.
Okay. I guess in that respect, I'm not sure. Like, Skyward Sword has flying around. You're kind of over the world, and then you drop down into it. So
it's nothing like the sailing then, right?
Not really. Like, it's okay. Much faster in terms of getting around places. I felt anyway. Like, There's a few quirks here and there. Like, I felt they could have done the skydiving thing a little better, because like as soon as you jump off the bird, it kind of just transitions into a loading animation. Where I was like, if you let me just skydive into the world every time, that'd be awesome.
I don't like this idea that when I put in Skyward Sword, I'm gonna have to sit through 40 minutes of nothing until I get to actually play.
I'm trying to think if that's fair to say. That's like kind of just how Zelda games start. Like,
no,
they have slow,
it's not at all
introductions. I don't know. Like, even Ocarina has kind of just like, you know, hey, here's all these forest kids, and we're kind of talking. And there's this owl, and he's going to tell you some stuff.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the tutorial. I heard is terrible because it lasts forever.
I don't know. Like, that's a thing that's hard for me to kind of really gauge, because like I've endured far more tedious introductions to things.
Sure. Uh-huh.
Like, specifically, the one springing to mind is Kingdom Hearts 2.
The one springing to mind to me is Final Fantasy 13. The first couple hours is
so like another square. Tutorial. Yeah, like they just kind of like, hey, here's a really drawn out introduction to what's going on, and yeah, I didn't feel like I definitely went into Skyward Sword hearing that, and then I was kind of like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Was kind of my reaction. Like, it was like maybe there was 2 hours of just kind of nonsense, but it didn't like I was prepared for 4, maybe I could say. So I was like, oh, that was
well. This
painless.
brings up what I wanted to talk about with another thing about this series.
Mm-hmm.
Is how do you feel about the change from where they're kind of holding your hand and telling you how to do stuff either a lot right away or throughout the whole game, compared to how Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link, like I guess I can't remember A Link to the Past. I don't think it really held your hand as much, but
well, John was saying
where
they just kind of in the first castle, like first time he played
yeah.
it.
Well, here's the thing,
like,
though. They tell you though, like, hey, go to the throne room. As just as a kid, as like a 6-year-old kid, I couldn't figure that out.
It's like, where would that be? I don't know.
What's a throne?
Yeah,
yeah,
like, yeah.
But yeah,
no, like, okay, let's go back all the way. In The Legend of Zelda, literally, you just start, and you have to find what you're doing. Same thing with the Adventures of Link. Like, you just go in, and they don't tell you anything, which might work against it, maybe. I'm just wondering, like, where you guys stand on that.
I guess, like, part of it was, like, in both cases with the first games, I didn't have the manual, and they actually do give you context and story in there.
Sure.
That was kind of a way they used to handle it. So, like, Zelda 2, it starts, and you're just like, Zelda's already asleep on the thing, and you're just supposed to leave, and you're just like, what happened to her? What's going on? And it's just like, dude, whatever, you just gotta go. And you're just like, okay. Whereas if you read the manual, I'm pretty sure it tells you, like, oh, there's this curse placed on her, and she's in this coma.
It gives you the whole backstory of what happened between the games.
So you're supposed to kind of go figure out a way to wake her up again, right? Is that kind of the impetus for your journey?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But so I guess in terms of like storytelling stuff, like I'm glad they folded all that into the game. If you mean like,
what about like Navi? Like press A to roll or something, just like over and over.
That was
not
a conversation
that specifically, but
recently about like the most annoying Zelda helper characters, and yeah, Navi charted pretty high on that list because. Like, you mean like, holding your hand too much, guiding you around, like, there's no discovery anymore because it's kind of just pointing you towards the next, waypoint, essentially.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, it's kind of a thing where it's like, with some of the old Nintendo classics, like, I respect, like, this was the first time anyone ever did this. But, like, for me, like, my example of, like, just, I can't enjoy this is Metroid. Like, I just am lost. I don't know where to go. Like, I just am not having fun ever because I'm just lost. In the Zelda games, like, I don't know if it ever got quite that bad where I was just like, I literally don't know what's going on.
Did you ever play the first Legend of Zelda by chance?
Yeah, but you mean the, like, some of the weird secrets in that game? Like,
yeah, because I don't know, in my opinion, the first time you play that compared to the first time you play Metroid, it does that. Where it's like, how was I supposed to know to bomb this sort of
thing? No, like it's just a cold like drop into the deep end of the pool. Like, good luck, man. And there's what? Again, I don't think I actually successfully beat either of those first 2 games until I had the internet to help me. So I kind of copped out. I didn't go through the frustrating like drawing my own maps and kind of just staring at the game and trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I've heard that was kind of a profound experience, like early gaming experience for some people, where they're just like randomly bombing stuff out of pure frustration, and then they find it and like jump off their couch and just freak out because they did it. Like that sounds awesome, but I never had to go through like all those trials, I guess, to get there. So
sure,
I don't know. I still feel like the Zelda games are kind of a little, they're not as generous as some other games that literally have a waypoint, like a giant arrow saying, go there right now, open that door. Like, it's like, it's like if you're paying, you need to kind of read and pay attention. It'll like highlight a area, and then kind of, okay, this is to the north. Oh yeah, there's the mountains, and then you kind of start heading that way or whatever. Like, it's just kind of giving you information sort of organically. Like, it doesn't seem too guided. And like, again, like we've all said, like, if you leave a Zelda game for a while and come back, like, you don't know what's going on. So then you kind of have to start asking NPCs and kind of refresh your memory and hope one of them is like, yo, bro,
hoping you can find the NPC that you need.
Yeah. Like, I think Zelda 2 is one of them where there's an NPC that straight up tells you the way to go in some areas, right? Or just like the thing you need. Isn't that kind of how they'd handle it? So like you're just like, well, this guy's just saying I am error, so villages are useless. But it's like, no, dude, you needed to actually talk to this old lady, and she would help you get the candle or something. Isn't that a thing? Or am I misremembering?
Well, I mean, in your example, the candle's just in the dungeon or whatever. But yeah, they do. Some of them are just like, seek this in the east. It's like, okay, so I need to go this way now.
Like, I at least know which of the 4 directions I'm supposed to be generally heading in.
Or another guy's like, give my note to Bridge Man or whatever, and then like you go and talk to the guy and he puts the bridge down for you because you have the note. So there are specific NPCs that are basically like, do this now, and that's what you do. But yeah, they have throwaways in there, like, come talk to my grandmother, and she's like, I will refill your health. It's like, oh, okay, so I don't know why there was this NPC to direct me to the NPC right beside her, but whatever.
I guess I generally look at that stuff as like, this is not like the designers were trying to be like, oh, like they'll try to figure it out. It's more just like the game was incapable of conveying enough information to me, and that's just frustrating. Like, there's nothing puzzly about it. Like, it's not like I'm missing something. I'm just not, like, there isn't anything for me to kind of go off of. Like, there's no map screen, for example. You know, like, that would be really good, but they just didn't do that. So, like, I still look at it as kind of like the games have been iterating off of each other. And that doesn't necessarily mean the newest Zelda games are the best Zelda games, but they've kind of generally trended towards figuring out the best way to kind of convey relevant information to me. And maybe you could say they've kind of stagnated over the last decade. Like, they've kind of been generally the same, but they're still pretty solid, right? So,
well, I mean, of course, we wouldn't be talking about them if they weren't.
Yeah.
So, or we might be if they were really bad.
Well, you know, like, there was definitely some people bristling at, like, every time a new Zelda game comes out, there's like a percentage of people that's just like, did they change it? No? All right, I'm good. Like, they're just kind of, there's a part of the crowd that's checked out at this point. They're just not interested anymore. And I get that. I was kind of there for a little bit here and there, but I eventually just keep coming back to it because there's not that many adventures like this available. Like, I mean, you could say Darksiders was kind of going in this direction for a while, but I don't think those will exist anymore. And also, I was not exactly feeling the second one. So
yeah,
it's kind of a shame, but like, no one else is really doing this kind of grand swords and sorcery type thing this way. You know, like, there's Elder Scrolls and whatever, like, there's other stuff, but it's not like this kind of puzzle centric adventure stuff. So I don't know, but I guess I kind of want to like turn your question to John, just because like you're a fan of older games, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like they've kind of lost something? Like, the challenge is gone, and then they're not interesting anymore? Are they too helpful? Like,
they hold your hand a ton. No one will ever deny that. Look at Skyward Sword, where pretty much everything you picked up had an explanation for what it was, even though you've picked it up in the past.
Oh, I did hate that. That is true. Like, it's like, I already found this. Why are you telling me this again? Like, it's like almost pretending you have the worst memory.
You're a goldfish.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, in case you forgot, this is for this. And you're just like, okay, thanks, game. So, fair enough. I kind of forgot about that. I almost thought that was a glitch at some point. Like, it was just like, no, I picked up a Deku Seed before. It knows that, right? But it's just like, yeah, but you powered off the system since last time, so reminder. But okay. What was the most recent one you played through to completion?
To completion would be Minish Cap.
Okay.
And that was back when we had first started Top 10 Perspective.
Oh yeah.
That was back when I was playing games during the show.
Okay. I did
just to see if I could beat a game that.
I don't remember much about it. Like, I mean, Eslo was a cool kind of supporting character guy. Like, it does big world, small world stuff, right?
Yeah. I believe the villain on that one was Vati. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's kind of the first appearance of him in a way, according to the timeline.
Timeline-wise, yeah.
Yeah. I guess Capcom was involved with the portable ones for quite a while. Like, that was their...
They did all the Oracle ones, and they were involved in Minish Cap, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, was it again just kind of like the formula is well worn, but that was fresh enough to do stuff with, or was there something specific about Minish Cap that made it like compelling enough?
I think it was mainly the fact that it was portable. Not gonna lie, I think it's the fact that I could just kind of play it wherever I wanted at my leisure that got me to continue playing it, and that's probably the thing that doesn't usually happen with the 3D Zeldas. Like I thought, I bought the Ocarina of Time re-release for 3DS because I specifically wanted to play the Master Quest of Ocarina of Time. Then I found out I had to beat the game normally to unlock Master Quest, and I was like, no, screw that.
That's so dumb. So dumb.
It makes sense, but it's like, oh, that's really not what I wanted at all.
That is kind of silly. Like, it's like the people that would be most interested in playing Master Quest have probably played Ocarina of Time before, so just make it another option on the menu. But maybe they don't want new players to stumble into something crazy. I don't know. But again, it's not like they can't just back out of that if they find it too daunting and play the normal game. So, I don't know. I played Master Quest on the that GameCube kind of bonus disc. I forget if I actually beat it. I remember it's just the dungeons are super weird. Like, it's just like, there's a cow in the wall, hit the cow's head to open the door, and you're just like, what? It's like a remix. It's like a really weird remix. But yeah, that was specifically in like the third temple, like the Zora's thing, with the, like, you're in that weird jelly creature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his name? Jabu?
Jabu.
Wasn't it? It was like the King Jabu or something. I don't know. It was a whale, and she got sucked in.
Yeah, it's just weird. I forget if I ever went much further in Master Quest, but it's kind of an interesting alternate way of doing it. That's kind of just the thing Japan would do for a while, right? Like the Mario Lost Levels is kind of in that vein too. It's just like, it's the same game, but harder. So, extra challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Portable. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I haven't really like done Zelda games on the go as kind of it. Like, even with Phantom Hourglass, it was just me sitting at home playing it. Like, it wasn't so much I'm going to play this on the bus kind of thing. It doesn't really fit how I would play these normally, but
So, good old internet. We lost John.
We lost John. So I was
we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll come back with listener comments, questions, and all that stuff.
Okay. And maybe a few more lines of inquiry from Chatty Cat. Anyway.
There you go.
Well, excuse me, princess.
Okay, we're back.
Hey. Portable Zelda games. Yeah. How you doing, John?
Yeah, portable Zelda games.
Yeah, we were just talking about those.
So, Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask is just a game I kind of want to give a bit of a highlight to, I guess. Just, I don't know, like, it was not my first Zelda game, but it was kind of, like, the more and more I've played, like, other ones, it kind of starts to stand out as just being, like, this weird oddball. Because, like, it doesn't have a lot of the things you're used to, and then it also has this nuts time travel, like, loop thing that basically reminds me of the Bill Murray classic Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Nightmarish, horrific, weird version of it. And I don't know, like, I played it again for a while, like a few months ago, and it's just a creepy game.
It is
just a weird, demented thing, and I don't know, like, something about it makes it, like, just that much more compelling to me, but also kind of bothersome to me for all the reasons we talked about already with, like, the technical stuff. Like, it's an ugly game now. Just, you know, in terms of, like, this is early 3D. Like, this is N64. They're kind of pushing that hardware as far as they can, but at the same time, like, these are the muddiest textures ever. But that's all you could do. So I'm kind of, like, having to put up with this kind of middling looking thing in a lot of ways, but it's still got such a cool design conceit at the core of it that it's still great. But I kind of do wish they would do the, you know, 3D remake thing. Like, you know, they did the 3DS Ocarina upscale HD, all that stuff. Like, if they ever saw fit to do that for this game, I would be stoked. But at the same time, it was not one of the most successful Zelda games, so I get why you wouldn't, but I don't know.
It was an interesting follow-up to what is arguably one of the highest-rated games of all time.
Yeah, like that was the game that's like established all this stuff, and then it's like, well, the follow-up, what do? Turn it totally upside down and do weird stuff, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's the same engine, it's the same kind of graphics, like, I don't know, it's less charming and like lighthearted for sure. Like, it's kind of a nightmare version of.
Well, the way it starts is nightmarish.
Yeah, like it's just like you just get robbed and you're just left on the side of the road, and then you find this like weird, like sad kid on his own who finds this evil mask, and the moon is going to destroy the world. Like, it's just like, I like that it raises the stakes in a lot of ways. Like, it's just like, no, the planet is going to end unless you do this thing, and you don't have enough time to mess around. You got to get going like right now. Like, there's the stress the clock adds to that game is kind of the worst thing about it for some people, but it's also like what makes it unique and really crazy. So like,
sure.
I have all these memories of just like, you know, racing to beat the boss, and there's like literally a countdown timer on the screen. It's just like the world ends in 55, 54, and you're just like, ah, like that kind of manic stuff is only possible with those kind of pressures put on the player. But at the same time, like, imagine you get to the like last second, and you're just like, all right, well, I got to reset and do that whole dungeon over again. Like, that is kind of a messed up thing to ask of a person. Like, just like, hey, you know that thing you did for the last 2 hours? Yeah, why don't you do that again, but better? You know, like, that's nuts. But I kind of respect it for going that far into like crazy town. So I don't know. It's like, yeah. It's kind of
transformations, how it looks like Link is in tremendous pain every time.
Every time, yeah. Like, you can skip that animation, but if you don't, it's just like him screaming as the mask like folds over his face and changes his body, and it's just like, this is really weird.
It's like Jim Carrey's The Mask, only terrifying.
Yeah, it kind of is like that.
He just like looks up, he's like, ah, and then turns into Azora.
And some of their side quest design too, like it taking the time stuff into account, and like this Clockwork City, you kind of have to figure out, like, it's just like, oh, I missed this happening, so I can't do it anymore because that only takes place at noon on day 2. So
yeah,
great, you know, like just kind of like weird dilemmas a time traveler would face, just in the mechanics, and just kind of like the way it handles kind of the tension and stuff of all that, like, you know, end of day 1 and it like starts zooming out rather, like the screen gets smaller and smaller, and then like wall of text comes up, and it's just like beginning of the second day. Like it handles its stuff with like a lot of drama, and I don't know, I still like, despite its kind of primitive visuals and stuff, like it's still a kind of amazing game. It's another one I kind of intend, like I have the, you know, the Wii Shop download version of it or whatever. So that's probably the one I'll go to. So like revisit it again, but yeah, I just kind of want to highlight that one as like not my first Zelda game, not necessarily like generally speaking the best one, but kind of my favorite. You know, for the same reasons Adventure of Link stands out as being like, this is pre-formula. This is them kind of still figuring it out. Like it's not the same. Like this is them kind of toying with the formula in a way that I thought was pretty meaningful. So yeah, like I don't like, I love the formula still. Like I like, you know, and a lot of the aspects of it are still in there, like go to the dungeons, get the stuff, but just the way they contextualize that stuff and kind of mess with it really kind of changed it all for me. So I don't know. And again, it was an impressionable time too, I guess. Like I can always be like, well, I was like 13, so it was really, you know, an interesting game experience, but also an early game experience. So it's probably not objective. But
it's still interesting to revisit, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, it holds up.
And Adventure of Link, I'm trying to think, like that one I did like because of the RPG mechanic stuff. Like it's just like, oh, why did they never do this again? You know, like it's just like you actually have to go fight dudes and level up your stuff, and like, you know, just putting an extra kind of layer of character management on it. I mean, they do some of that stuff to some extent in Skyward Sword, like you're leveling up your equipment. Like you're kind of, well, not leveling up in terms of the more you use it, but you can kind of find stuff that buffs up your stuff. I don't know. They have a decent way of handling kind of a deeper, control over what your guy is carrying around with you and stuff. Like I don't think I had the best shield or whatever by the end of that game, but there's kind of decent reasons for you to go explore and find more stuff. But I don't know. So yeah, there's some interesting kind of specific points on this time, like on the list of games that stand out as being interesting things. But anyway, let's move on to the final segment. Is there any one game John wants to spotlight? Be like, yo, here's why Link's Awakening, that whale.
CDI Zeldas, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that.
No, we didn't.
Because I can't. I have no way of playing them. So
I guess. Do you want to illuminate us a bit on those? Because I know they're like the blackest of the black sheep.
Because they're not even made by Nintendo. Not at all.
Yeah, they're not in this book whatsoever. There's not even a paragraph saying we apologize for that thing that happened. I don't know. What is it with those games? Is there anything remotely noteworthy about them, or is it just they are a thing that came out and that is kind of
the only real noteworthy thing about them is that at least the cartoon ones play exactly like Zelda 2.
Okay, so side-scrolling, jumping over stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was animated cutscenes, whether you thought they were good or bad. There was an overworld that you could just kind of click on where you wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little cheap gameplay-wise, because you didn't really get, if you got hit, you could get comboed, essentially.
Oh, just infinite loop, the animation to recover is too long, and you just get hit over and over?
More like you just get hit, and there's no actual animation, there's no actual, period of invincibility.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.
So it's just hit, dead. Oh.
Yeah. Usually, you'll get flinch back from, a physical enemy, and you won't just get destroyed, but if, a bunch of projectiles are raining down on you and they all hit you at once, your entire health meter can go away.
Wow.
And your health only goes up to, I believe, 5 hearts.
Ever? That is max?
Yeah. But the hearts at least count as halves, so.
Okay.
Or I believe they can.
That sounds pretty bad, but
yeah.
Okay. I guess there's a whole aspect of all of these, in one of them you get to play as Zelda herself, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of highlighted.
2 of them, technically, because there was 3. There was the 2 cartoon ones, and there was the live-action one.
Okay. That has been kind of pointed out as these games are as guilty as any in the damsel in distress setup, for sure. There's a princess, and she's always going to get in trouble. But, I don't know. Apparently they don't play especially well anyway, so it's not female empowerment, this is the one.
It was also on a system that barely anyone can play, and the emulation for that system is not exactly the best. So
for the Philips CDI, or
yeah,
those things.
I never thought of Princess Zelda as the princess in distress myself.
No, not usually.
There's enough examples for me of her kind of doing stuff on Skyward Sword is a pretty good one, I thought, even though there is a point in the story where things go a little bad for everybody.
Again, the game I didn't play. Okay.
I know, but she's kind of going on her own adventure, parallel to yours for a lot of that game, which I was yeah, cool. And Tetra is a tough pirate lady. But I guess once stuff happens, princess gets captured. There's an evil. I don't know. It's just kind of, that's just part of their Triforce dynamic, right? There's power, and he's gonna try to mess with everybody. So that's just how it goes. I guess one more question, just generally. Do you guys rename your Link, or do you just
Never.
have Link?
Depends.
Okay. Do you have any examples of names you've gone with, or?
Usually it'll be either John or Proton or something like that.
I guess I do Krasnor, my gamer tag, but I loaded up an old cart somewhere, and it was Frodo. So mixing my fantasies. So, the Grand Adventure of Frodo, sword wielding hero. Just saying, that's the thing I did. I don't remember if there was any real other ones. Yeah, probably just Krasnor, Kraz, maybe, if I want to shorten it.
Kraz.
Just Blazing 420 XX.
No, I haven't done that.
There's not enough X's at the beginning and the end of your name, Nathan. You need to fix that.
Well, there's a character limit in those older games.
It's true.
Actually, probably in all of them. I think there was a character limit in the other ones.
I I think there's 4 to 6 in Link to the Past. I want to say 6 in the original Zelda, and maybe even in Zelda 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so if it's 7, which is Krasnor, I would have to shorten it.
Yeah, I believe traditionally it's 6.
Krasno. Yeah, no, I haven't done that. And now I'm just, dude, if you enter Zelda in the first Zelda game, check out what happens. It's great. I guess, hey, did you guys ever beat Second Quest?
No.
Of which one?
The first one.
I never beat the first one.
Oh, at all? Okay. I did not beat
I never beat the NES ones.
Right. So now at this point, like, all the super hardcore Zelda fans are just like, what? I've been listening to these dudes. They didn't even finish it. So
keep in mind, like I said,
series coming out.
Keep in mind, I said I started with Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't think there is a second quest in that one, right?
No.
Okay. Anyway, on to the final questions, queries segment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll close this Historia so I don't get, like, any other stuff stoked up for me to talk about. So.
Get all excited.
Yeah. It's like, wait, I found something. Page 98. But, yeah. Now I'm going to see what's on page 98. Anyway, continue.
All right, so we'll start off. We only got one voicemail. It's from Meowth900.
Okay.
This is for, what's the name of this podcast again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Retro Killscreen.
The
one that I thought was dead for a while. Since we're talking about Zelda, do you prefer Link or Zelda? I personally prefer Link because he's a badass.
Just as a character, like, just who's cooler? I mean, Link isn't, like, he's kind of a blank slate all the time.
Yeah, Link's kind of an extension of you, so...
Right.
I like Zelda. I've always actually
Who do you think's cooler, you or this female character?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think if they've ever really given Link more character details. Like, I mean, in Link to the Past, he has an uncle, so that's a thing. That's, like, a character thing he has.
But he dies, like, in the very beginning of the game.
He does. And then in, like, Link, Wind Waker, there's, like, a grandma and all this stuff. But
Twilight Princess, remember, he's part of that village in Twilight Princess. There's all,
he's
like
a shepherd
things.
or whatever. Yeah, like, they kind of have little things.
He's a knight in training in Skyward Sword.
Yeah. Like, generally, they just kind of do more character fleshing out with Zelda, so... She's not always the favorite. It probably varies from game to game, but like, I know maybe I brought it up too many times, but it's also a recent thing. The Zelda they write for Skyward Sword was a pretty good one. Tetra is a pretty good one. I guess, in a way, because Tattle is kind of telling you the story, the Link in Majora's Mask is kind of in an interesting spot, but I still find, like, Skull Kid more interesting. As like what is that guy's deal?
Yeah.
So even then, he's not really the standout character. Like, he's a little too generic. But unless this was a Smash Brothers question, it's like, who do you play as? Because then it's Link every time.
Well, then then it would definitely be Sheik.
Oh, okay.
Sheik, I believe, is the highest out of all the Zelda characters. Is always the highest rated.
Oh, okay. I'm also a scrub at Smash Bros, so whatever.
You scrub! Get out of this conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Just generally speaking, in terms of character stuff, I guess Zelda's more the focal point of the stories, so... Link's fine, though. I'm not gonna... Like, I guess, in terms of, like, badassery, that trailer that kicked off the Twilight Princess hype train was historic. Like, that crowd lost their minds, and I was there at home watching on my computer, almost losing my mind just as much. Like, I was really excited.
Yeah.
So that rush of just like, oh man, this is crazy. This is great.
Who do you think's more iconic looking? Probably Link, right?
Yeah.
Just like the tunic and the sword and all that stuff.
Because keep in mind, he always has like a set like look. There's a base to Link design. Zelda, her dress and her hair style and everything seems to change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Link is almost always consistent.
Women never ready, am I right? Always changing their hair and their clothes.
Ayo.
I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so next I got Twitter stuff here.
Okay,
Wayward524. If you didn't cover it otherwise, what is your guys' entry point into the series? Any games you haven't tried but want to? So we covered right away the entry point, really. But what about games that we haven't tried yet and we want to?
There definitely are some for me, but I can let you guys kind of kick it off if you want. I don't know.
John, go ahead.
Link Between Worlds.
The new one?
Yeah, the one that's not out yet.
That's coming out. That one's going to be sweet.
There isn't any that I'm really like gung ho for wanting to try because I've played at least bits and pieces of all of them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think the only ones I haven't played like ever is the hard to find of the CDI Zelda. So that's Zelda's Adventure. That's the live action one.
Oh, okay.
And Link Between Worlds, which I've passed the demo every time.
Oh yeah, I guess I just watched footage of it at PAX. I didn't actually touch it and mess around with it, so I don't know how it plays, but yeah, okay.
No, I've got the answer. Link's crossbow training.
I haven't played Link's Crossbow Training. That is actually kind of one of the weird things on this timeline. Well, not the timeline, but Shigeru Miyamoto's Hyrule History, which is on page 3 for those who following along in their books at home. But I've kind of grown curious about that, like subsequently. It's just like I should probably just have it. I mean, it was $3 and just lying around in piles forever when I worked.
People kept trading it in,
and I just never thought like, I might as well add that to my collection. And now I'm kind of up the river on that. I just don't have it, and I feel stupid, even though it's probably garbage. Like it's probably not great.
It's actually not that bad for what it's trying to be.
Okay,
but you have to keep in mind it's trying to be like that.
Yeah,
it's just essentially a game they made to go along with the Zapper.
Right. Yeah. Like it's just here's a demo, like a what would you call it? Tech demo. Like it's not even a game, really. I guess I do have one I've never ever played, and that is Spirit Tracks. Which
shit, I forgot about Spirit Tracks. Actually, you're right.
You haven't played it either?
No.
Okay. Well,
but then again, if it controls anything like Phantom Hourglass,
then it probably wouldn't really appeal. But whereas like I came out of Phantom Hourglass pretty hyped about it. Like I was like, man, that was great. So there's no real good reason why I haven't investigated Spirit Tracks. And in fact, looking through this book before the show, I saw there was a dessert train in it, and that is just I guess the word is adorable. So I should probably get that dessert train and go riding across the rails.
Go enjoy the dessert train.
Yeah, I might end up playing that at some point. But yeah, so Spirit Tracks is one I've never ever gotten a chance to look at, and not for any real good reason. And then as we've kind of like, there's a few over the course of just playing a bunch of them, I never finished them or only started them. Like Twilight Princess, I got like barely 3 hours into it, maybe 4 hours. And I guess I've never actually played the original Four Swords, like because you'd need multiple Game Boy Advances to do that, right?
It's, you know what? There's not really a story to the original Four Swords. It's just like mainly gameplay and like a specter of story. Like, oh, Vati got free and you're now 4 links, so go save Zelda.
And collect rupees and...
Yeah, and they compete against each other. There is definitely more story to Four Swords Adventures.
Yeah, I've played that to completion, so...
But like Four Swords is basically just 3 stages.
Okay. So maybe
maybe 4. I believe you can unlock a 4th.
Okay. I'm actually looking, there's a DSiWare Four Swords Anniversary Edition.
Yeah, but I don't think you can download that anymore. I think if you didn't get it when it was free, you missed your shot.
Okay. That sucks.
But that came with like 3 extra stages, and like they changed your sprite style to like the original NES and the SNES ones.
Yeah. So I guess those are kind of the missed ones that I feel especially bad about. But Paul, any ones you feel you've overlooked that?
Skyward Sword.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think we all. No, did you beat Skyward Sword, Nathan?
Oh yeah, I played that pretty intensely some months ago, earlier this year. So
yeah.
I was pretty caught up in that. Again, that there's that one dungeon that really bothered me, but whatever. That's it though. That the just recent ones. You're not, hey, those Game Boy ones. Did you finish all those?
Yeah, I played them. I didn't finish them, but I played them. I did finish Link's Awakening, but not Oracle games. So
okay, and I got stuck in Ages. So okay, is there other questions?
Yep. Okay. Another Twitter one. I'm just trying to see where the last one... Okay, there it is. Okay, so this comes on Twitter from Meowth900, the same person that sent in that voicemail. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, did you like Skyward Sword? If yes, what did you like about it? If not, why not? I hated it because I haven't played it.
Okay.
It just didn't grab me. I think at that point I had just been burnt down on Zelda.
It wasn't like anything to do with the way they introduced it or whatever. It's just
I will admit it was also kind of slow.
yeah. Okay. I don't know. I've already kind of rattled on about it quite a bit, but I guess I haven't said it on this podcast, so I might as well. Just the dungeon where they introduce the bow, they kind of design it to be really, really big, and that results in backtracking taking forever. So you're just kind of running up a gigantic hallway for like 35 seconds or whatever, just to realize you actually are in the wrong place and you need to shoot an arrow out the window at this crystal or whatever. Like, I just got stuck in a way that I felt wasn't 100, like, not exactly wasn't my fault, but it was just like really tedious to figure it out. And I got kind of really angry at it for a while, but I was like really feeling it up to that point. So I was like, I'm going to muscle through this because I want to see where this goes. But that was definitely a low point for me. But yeah, generally speaking, I liked much of what that game did. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get back to you on my feelings on it, I guess, when I play it.
Okay.
Okay, next, Flyzer97. Can you compare 2D to 3D Zelda games when picking your favorite, or do you separate them into leagues of their own? Kind of answered this earlier. I separate them because I have a favorite of each.
Separate.
Okay. But I thought you said you kind of prefer the
I do prefer the 2D, but I do consider them separate.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I don't make too much distinguish between them. I haven't really. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Like aspects of Phantom Hourglass are still kind of the top-down thing, isometric, but it does some 3D tinkering here and there. I don't know. But I guess, yeah, my introduction to it was 3D, so maybe there's kind of different expectations based on which one I'm approaching. More so when they came out, maybe. It's like, oh, this is an older one, so...
Sure.
Yeah.
I can agree with that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so last one I got here. S_Knight1214. Which Zelda game had the most innovation and uniqueness to you guys?
Majora's Mask.
Probably Majora's Mask, although at the time, Ocarina of Time.
Well, yeah, because like a lot
completely.
of the fundamentals, like in Majora's Mask, it was like iterative at best on some of that stuff. In terms of like just the targeting and the general navigation and whatever, but in terms of kind of like the story conceit or like the mechanics around that, Majora's Mask probably.
It's also hard to say, though.
Yeah, like which one brought the most to the table? Like, I mean, like the first Legend of Zelda game brought a lot to gaming, just as like
right.
a adventure.
And then after that, the Adventure of Link is completely different from the first one. Link to the Past is completely different in most ways. It's kind of more iterative on the first one, but
it's like really polished,
improved
take on the same core ideas, right? And then Link's Awakening does weird stuff.
And then Ocarina of Time. So, the first 5, arguably, you could just be like, well, they all did their own sort of thing somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, each one is bringing a lot of new stuff to the table. Because, like, you know, even with, like, some of the more recent ones, like, sometimes the new thing seems almost just gimmicky. Like, you were kind of like, motion controls. And it's like, well, yeah, it doesn't change everything. But
sure.
It's kind of a neat addition to it. Or, like the new one that's coming out, like, doesn't it have kind of like you turn flat and walk around walls or something? It's almost like Paper Mario stuff or something.
Yeah, you can traverse through walls to get around pits and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I don't know what the story thing behind that is, but okay, like that's fine. I guess instruments got added at some point. Those just became a thing you need in them. It's like there's a flute or a wand, like a baton or the ocarina, all that stuff.
This got accepted after Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, there's some manner of instrument in Skyward Sword as well. It's less key, but it's still there. I don't know. Yeah. I guess, Ocarina brought a lot to the table. I might have to point at that one as being maybe the most revelatory, like at least in my lifetime, right? Because I mean, the original one I was too young or not even really conscious to appreciate any of that, what was happening. So The one that turned heads was Ocarina of Time. Eventually, after I got over the chicken thing.
What about for you now, though? Like, speaking from Nathan in 2013, uniqueness.
Yeah, honestly, it has to be Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask, probably.
The one I'd be like, which one would you consider writing at length about? Oh, Majora's Mask.
Sure.
That's the one I've kind of been like, this does so many totally crazy ideas that I wish would be revisited. Majora's Mask. So there you go.
I agree with that. Yeah.
There it is again.
So that's it.
Yeah.
We did it, guys. We talked about Zelda.
Yay!
Zelda.
Scratch it off your bucket list, because it's done.
How'd you know? Now my bucket list is empty.
That was the only thing. Now I can die peacefully.
Yeah, exactly. It's done. See you guys.
It is done.
It is finished.
It is finished. I was going to go that sacrilegious, but there you go. You took it.
Yeah.
You went with it all the way.
All right, Nathan.
Enough, but okay.
Nathan, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure.
For letting me do that.
Good time. And we'll be back in a few years with the next episode. See you guys later.
Now, if it's earlier, it'll be like a funny surprise.
In the future, we talk about retro.
It's technically true.
I know, that's true.
We should talk about the future then.
We should. How do you feel about the PlayStation 5?
Well, I feel it's iterative
I'm already
of the
burned out
PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
They didn't really add anything, yeah, I agree.
Just motion control for everything.
Super weird. You pay
motion control using the system itself.
Yeah.
You now have to move the system around the room.
I'm sick of controlling everything with my mind. I wish I could just go back to a controller.
Yeah, that thought headband thing just really, it starts to hurt after a while. I don't know.
One size fits all my ass.
I don't know. I think mine's effective because I start to remember things that haven't happened.
So it's like predictive? That's weird. You've been playing too much, dude.
Yeah.
He's become a precog. We have to call the thought police.
That's it has radiation in it. Like, you're kidding your mind. Like, who's that dude in Hulk with the giant head? Oh no, it's Green Lantern, right?
There was a dude with a big head. Yeah.
Are you talking about Sinestro or Brainiac?
There's the leader, and then there's Brainiac.
Oh.
Either way, it's brain swollen up because of technology.
Playing that new Legend of Zelda. Retro Killscreen.
I kind of thought it might go like that, but there you go.
I also don't think I actually said. I don't think I said retro Killscreen. I think I said retro Killscreen.
Do you want to try again? Take 2. I don't know. Yeah, take 2. Okay.
You've brought more production value to this thing John and I started doing than we ever have.
We're just, caught up in a movie thing right now. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Retro Killscreen.
4 octaves. Okay. Just edit, tweak those so that it's all lined up.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah,
or each of us individually say retro Killscreen, and then you layer them. Ooh.
That technically already happened.
Yeah. It was done automatically, actually.
Really?
Well,
it's
layered, right? The way we said it?
Well, the way we said it was layered, but it's a mess. So I'm just saying, I just go retro Killscreen.
See, I was hoping that it would be a mess, because I don't want it to sound good. I want it to just be blah, blah, blah. Boom, 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 boom.
Retro Killscreen. Okay.